Hi, Year 8. We're going to be doing some feedback on the trickier questions on the Homework 8 Level 6 to 8. I deliberately missed out number 15 because it's simultaneous equations which I haven't taught you yet. And I want to teach you properly rather than just show you quickly on here. So I've missed that one out. So let's have a look at question 14, make t the subject of the formula. Let's write it out so you've got, it's a bit clearer. Making sure that when you copy it out that looks like an S and that looks like a T, because they could easily be mistaken for numbers, okay? Okay, so if we're making T the subject, we've got an issue in that there's two T's. So the first thing you need to do is to factorise so that you've only got one T. So keeping everything else the same, the S and the equals, we're going to take T out, we're going to divide this expression by T and put something inside the bracket. So to get to AT from T, I have to multiply by A. Or another way of putting it is AT divided by T is A, okay? And then B goes in here. And I'll show you why this works. T times A is AT, or TA. And then T times B is BT. So that bit there is called factorising. If you're not sure of that step, then look up your factorising expressions, okay? Once we've got T to be just 1, we can easily rearrange it. Touching means times, so there's an invisible times in there. So to get rid of A plus B, we need to divide both sides by A plus B. So I'm going to write that down in my step. Divide by A plus B. I'll write it on the other side, as we normally do. And on this side, A plus B goes on the bottom, because whenever you divide something in algebra it just appears on the bottom. If I divide the right hand side by A plus B, it cancels out, for want of a better word, and you're left with T. So A plus B divided by A plus B is 1, but the 1 is invisible, so you're just left with T. And you know I like to swap it around, make sure the S looks like an S, not a 5. And your A plus B is on the bottom. Okay, so that's that question there. Okay, let's have a look at the next one, which is factorising. Now, unfortunately, on your screen, I think it only had the minus 13 plus 36. So this is the proper question that should have happened. It should have said x squared minus 13x plus 36. And you probably would have been able to do it if you'd had the right questions, so apologies for that. I didn't realise it hadn't shown up. So we multiply to get 36 and add to get negative 13. So on the side, we'd write the factors of 36, which are quite a few, 6 and 6. And because it's aiming to get a negative term in the middle, we also need to write these on the side. So there's a lot of factors of 36 and they double up in this case, so we'll write down all of those pairs. Okay, so we've got quite a few factor pairs on the side. We choose now the pair that adds to make negative 13x. Now the pair that makes negative 13 when you add it is negative 9 and negative 4. They add to make negative 13. So that's the correct pair that we choose. And then we just put it in the bracket. So double brackets, because it's a quadratic. Minus 4 goes in. Minus 9 goes in. The x's go in. And that's your final answer. X minus 4, x minus 9. Okay, thirdly, let's look at question 17. It says work out the two possible answers of this equation here. I'll write it out again to make it bigger. Solving equations using steps. You've got something squared is 49. Now if we think what squared is 49, hopefully we'll think it 7. Think of 7. 7 squared is 49. Technically we square root, so that the square root of 49 is 7 on that side. That's nice and easy. And on the left hand side, because we've square rooted a squared, they cancel each other out. They are the inverse or the opposite. And we end up with q minus 11 equals 7. Now, when I square root 49, I also get -7. So if I do another little bit over here, because we're going to need two solutions, work out the two possible answers. Let's go back to our positive number here, our 7. Q minus 11 is 7. To get rid of minus 11, you add 11. So Q equals 7 add 11 is 18. So that's our first answer. Don't get into the trap of thinking, oh, if Q is 18, the other answer must be -18. It's not. So if we look over here, Q minus 11 equals -7. Do the same step, plus 11 to both sides. -7 add 11 is actually 4. So the answers are both positive. Q is 18 and Q is 4. So there's your two answers for that one. Okay, let's look at question 18 next. Just bear with me while I get some paper. Okay, number 18. Standard form question. A lot of you did this one, but some of you were stuck on it. Fast forward this if you're not stuck. So we've got this 2.3 times 10 to the 5. This is a non-calculator question. And the method is that we split the two brackets by doing the numbers first and then the powers. So I will do the numbers in red and the powers in green. 2.3 times 8 first of all. So let's do the little workings over here. 2.3 times 8 gives us 18.4. Do that however you want, okay? So we've got 18.4 for the numbers. Then, and that's the red bit, then you've got 10 to the power 5 times 10 to the power 6. So you're splitting the numbers over there and the powers here. This answer, add the powers, as we know the index law. So 6 add 5 is 11. So you've got two answers now. You've got the power and you've got this number. If we bring them back together now for the final answer, you've got 18.4 from the numbers bit, and you've got 10 to the 11 from the powers bit. Now, why isn't that standard form? Because standard form, as you know, should be, this number here should be between 1 and 10. So instead of 18.4, we're going to change it to 1.84. Now, we need to multiply this by another 10 then. Okay, so we need to put another 10 on the power so that you've got 12 altogether. Okay, so that is now in standard form, like the answer says. Gives your answer in standard form. Okay, so that's the final answer. Next bit is trig. So trigonometry to find the missing side. I'm gonna, obviously I'd use a ruler if I were you. I'm just going to redraw that so it's a bit bigger. So you've got x here, that's the missing side. It does say calculator allowed on this one. You've got 32 degrees, that is a degree sign, as the little angle in there. And this one here is 16 centimetres. And just as we've done in class, we label opposite the angle. This one's the hypotenuse, the longest. That one must be the adjacent. The one that's irrelevant is here, in the air, floating. We don't need the O. So in the word Sokotoa, the one with the O is definitely not going to be tan, definitely not going to be so or sine. It's going to be the one that includes A and H. So it must be Ka or cosine. So we're using cosine. The formula is cos theta. C for cos goes to there, A goes there, and the H goes underneath. There's our formula. Let's substitute now. Cos 32 from the diagram. Adjacent, switch that to an X. and the hypotenuse is 16. Solving using steps. To get rid of divide 16, you multiply by 16 both sides. The 16 comes out the front, which is a bit different to the normal way that we've seen in a normal equation. And all we need to do now is to type into the calculator 16 cos 32. So 16 cos 32 gives me 13.57. I've done 2 dp, it doesn't matter, you can do 13.6, 1 dp, and it's centimetres. Okay, last question. Question 20. Here it is. Multiplying these mixed numbers. The first thing I'm going to do is change the 1 2/3 into a top-heavy fraction. 1 times 3 is 3, add 2 is 5 over 3. So that scale is turning mixed into top-heavy, if you want to Google that, if you're stuck on that bit. Let's turn the second fraction in the same way. 2 8 is 16 plus 1 is 17, goes over 8 to match that one. Now we can multiply 5/3 times 17 over 8. When you multiply fractions, you multiply the tops. 5 times 17, which I think is 85, yeah. 8 3s are 24. Okay, that's top heavy. It's correct, it's the answer. How many 24s in 85? Well, I know there's 3 24s make 72. You've got 13 left over. And that's a bit more satisfactory looking than that, but either answer is correct on that one.